Hi everyone, here's the Book Chemist once again. Today I'm reviewing The Tortilla Curtain by T.C. Boyle, an author whom I'd never read, even though it's always been on the edge of my consciousness. To be honest, until very recently, in my mind, T.C. Boyle, Boyd Tonkin, Roddy Doyle, Colm Toybin, somehow all of these people kind of merge into a single mega author, and I struggle to distinguish their own books. I'm sure they're all very different people and very different writers. This is actually a novel from the mid-1990s, but I was really impressed by how topical and how relevant it seemed in its themes, in its treatment of how its characters engage with the theme of migration and poverty and inequality. Really, it could have been set in the contemporary US, I'm sure. Definitely could have been set in the contemporary UK or in Italy, with just a minor change of setting and characters. It's set in and around an opulent community in Southern California, where the residents of this private housing estate are concerned with the number of Mexicans currently moving around their community, who have crossed the border illegally, are searching for work. And, well, the situation escalates after a few episodes, a few accidents that involve two different sets of protagonists. Two protagonists from this privileged community and two migrants, Candido and America, who have just come to the US looking for work from Mexico. The way the lives of these very opulent people are compared to the lives of these people who really have nothing and are really struggling for just the basic necessities of life is really stark and really effective. It shows in a way that's very convincing how the characters from these two different worlds all have their problems. It's just that obviously the poor characters' problems are of an incredibly different magnitude and of a very different nature. At the same time, it's by no means a sentimental novel. It doesn't turn its struggling figures into mythical, sacred people. All the characters are three-dimensional and flawed and beautiful in their own way, even at their worst. The protagonist on the Californian side of this divide is called Delaney. He's a nature writer who enjoys taking hikes through nature, writes about it for a nature magazine. And one of the paradoxes of the novel is the fact that Delaney and, to be honest, the other Californian characters are really upset and righteously upset about the fact that these Mexicans, these migrants, are camping in the desert, are maybe polluting the streams there, they are littering the desert, leaving their trash behind, is really upset about this pollution, seemingly without realizing that, of course, that pales compared to the pollution and the impact on the environment of his own country, his own development, all the things that grant him the luxurious life that he lives. The novel is full of really dark, really effective humor, but broadly speaking is a much darker novel than I'd been led to expect by maybe the slightly funny title and maybe the slightly funny font on the cover, and there are some passages in it that are truly shocking, disturbing, and fairly violent. In fact, it's an uncomfortable book in so many different ways, and it's engineered to push the reader's buttons. It shows, for instance, how easily Delaney's liberal humanist convictions crumble in the face of a few unpleasant episodes. The fact that, for instance, while at the beginning of the novel he is very much opposed to, say, putting up a gate to protect his private estate from people, from vagabonds, from migrants, from graffiti taggers, etc. Very soon he starts to think, oh well, hold on, maybe I'll feel safer once the gate goes up. It shows why these arguments about security, about, buying weapons, getting more weapons, building walls between countries, why they're so effective, because they tap into some very primeval fears that we all share. And even while our higher intellect can tell us that all of these things don't really work, are not really the right way, at least, to address the problems of our societies, it's just very easy to hide yourself behind the wall and think that that's gonna take your fear away. A very important point is that I said that the novel is going to push the reader's buttons, and it's really engineered to do so, but I don't think that it's doing it to be flippant or to exploit this situation to make any kind of broader political point. It's just showing in a truthful manner the dark complexities of these situations. One of the somewhat disturbing ways in which the novel does that is that there's this extensive metaphor throughout the novel, which is implied but also fairly obvious, where the presence of coyotes in the desert and the fact that they're attacking the local residents' pets is used as a bit of a parallel for the presence of Mexicans who are maybe taking jobs away, maybe they're not contributing taxes, maybe they could even be dangerous. And the novel even uses this metaphor to comment metafictionally on some of its own concerns. There's a passage toward the end of the book where Delaney writes a column in his Nature magazine about the coyotes, and he gets a lot of flack because the readers assume that he is advocating for culling the coyote population. He's advocating for population control. And I can see how maybe T.C. Boyle was thinking about the fact that some readers might read the novel superficially and think that he's advocating for, say, closing the border, sending all these migrants back, sending them away. And Delaney doesn't really get it because all he was trying to do was present the situation. The paradox there is that Delaney isn't really advocating for population control. He's just describing the problem. The thing is that people, his readers, can't seem to even consider the fact that maybe they are the problem. Maybe the fact that they've expanded into this territory, into the coyotes' territory, pushing them, creating this situation where these creatures can't have a life. They can't hunt for food. Maybe that's what's causing these problems and these difficulties, not the animals in themselves. And I realize that it's still a way of talking about human beings, about migrants, by comparing them to animals, but I think that the novel does it in a way that's at once very provocative, but also intriguing, in a obviously dark way, especially because in the final chapters of the book, which are really masterful, the coyote metaphor, this dehumanizing metaphor, gets flipped on its head, and suddenly the one who's behaving like an animal is not it's not the migrants, it's Delaney himself. I thought this was a provocative but really powerful novel, and it's really engaging, really engrossing. All of its characters are beautifully built, really convincing. I thought it was great. It reminded me a lot of Jonathan Franzen at his best and at his most biting. I look forward to hearing whether you've read, whether it's a fairly popular novel, whether it's one that maybe flew under the radar at the time, maybe it's not found around bookshops as easily these days. Just curious. And if you're big T.C. Boyle fans, let me know what I should be reading next. I think the Terrance sounds intriguing from what little I know, but yeah, I'm really glad I picked this one up from the library. Thanks so much for watching the review. Let me know what you thought of the novel in the comments. Thanks to my patrons as always for supporting the channel. Bye everybody.